Hello everyone, good morning. Thank you so much for joining the Redington virtual session. Today's topic we have from Focus Interset User and Entity Behavioral Analytics, and the session will be led by our senior pre-sales consultant Siraj. In case you have any questions during the session, I would request you to please put all your queries in the Q&A tab and Siraj will answer them towards the end of the session. Siraj, over to you.
Hey, Bindia, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Interset UEBA session. So my name is Muhammad Sirajuddin. I'm the lead consultant at Redington Gov. You have my contact details available. Any questions, any concerns, or any clarifications that you might need, you can feel free to approach me any point of time. You have my mobile number as well as my email address. In today's scenario, when we talk about a next generation SOC, we all have the SOC today, but when we talk about a next generation SOC should be a combination of a machine learning, a machine along with the human efforts together. In today's scenario, what we see is that the analysts in our SOC are extremely burdened with the various amount of alerts that our security devices generate. This is not utilizing the best out of our analysts. The next generation SOC should focus something on analyzing those alerts using a machine technology at the machine space. We can't compare a machine space with a human space. A machine space has to be in place which analyzes the alerts, which verifies, which adds context to it to see whether this is a false positive or indeed this is an actual alert. And then using that information, that verified information, if we utilize our analysts, the human behavior to that, it becomes very easy to handle even a big amount of alerts in a more sophisticated and in a much easier way. We talk about SOC, which is people, process, technology, or we call data, tool, people, and processes. It is not limited only within the SOC. Whatever we identify, the incident response, the incidents that we come across, it is not limited only to the SOC environment, or only to the SOC environment, that is to the technical team or the analysts. This information that the incident information that we get, that we come across in a day-to-day life, is utilized by the CXO team members, the CISO level, and is presented in the board of in the board of directors meeting. For example, if organization is facing huge amount of incidents, like huge amount of threats and insider threats, be it an external threat, anything. So such kind of reports with a very validated, very vetted, without any false positive report, is much more required for a CISO to present it to the board of directors to take further action. So today's scenario, we are not limited only to the SOC. Even the board of directors, even the information is presented to the CXO level team. So how is Interset helping the customers? So we help the customers in 3 different scenarios. First, if the customer is having something very well defined to protect, for example, say they have some of their business intellectual property, like applications, critical data, some critical infrastructure to be managed, we protect them. We protect from the insider threat as well on that. For the second scenario is where our analysts are constantly burdened with a huge amount of alerts, like they are spending their entire time just to see whether the alert is indeed a real alert or is this a false positive. And third scenario is where we are constantly worried about data exfiltration and unauthorized access. For example, if we talk about a government entity, if we talk about a banking environment, be it any organization, data exfiltration and unauthorized network access is extremely important, which is which needs to be in place, which needs to be detected on time. So Interset is going to help you in all this. So this is our normal day-to-day SIEM environment, the one in the yellow color. So and this is going to get, the SIEM solution is going to get, SIEM and the other solutions are going to generate a huge amount of alerts, and Interset is going to absorb them. Interset is going to absorb them, wet whether what is the absorb them, verify whether it has a add context to it, and then help the customers, help the analysts identify and mitigate the false positives. Now, when we talk about Interset, how does it work? Interset is an unsupervised machine. It works on unsupervised machine learning methodology. Now, let's have a look. Before we go to unsupervised machine learning, let's see what is a machine learning technology and what is an unsupervised machine learning technology. So let's talk about supervised machine learning technology. See, with an example, we have a person's photograph here. So what do we say? What is his emotion if we talk about? We might say, we might categorize multiple factors and then say, yes, he is happy. In this scenario, we say he is sad, and similarly, we say he is angry. Why are we saying this? Because because we have a set of characteristics to see, to identify, and based on those characteristics that we see, we label it either as happy, sad, or angry. Correct? So in general, if I have to say, like, if I have a series of a series of expressions available, yes, with supervised machine learning technology, we are in a position to identify and label out each of the behavior, because we have learned the characteristics of this person, like in the previous slide, his eyes, his chin, his cheeks, his forehead. So these are different characteristics that we take into consideration. And based on those characteristics, we can identify each of the person and tell, yes, this is the specific behavior. So in a nutshell, if I have to say, supervised machine learning algorithm is a kind of technology that is utilized to identify scenarios like malware or something of that sort, because we are dependent on some type of characteristics to identify the behavior. We are dependent to see how is his eyes looking, how is his cheeks, how is his chin, how is his forehead. So we are dependent on certain characters to identify, yes, this guy is happy, he is not happy, or he is angry, or he is amazed, he is shocked, he is crying, be it anything. We need some certain characteristics. Yeah, that is, we can call them as signatures. Now, let's see what is an unsupervised machine learning technology. Let's use the same example. We have the same example where we have the person. Here, in an unsupervised machine learning technology, what we do is we do not go on labeling or depending on certain characteristics. We just do two simple things. What is unique and what is identical? We just identify the unique and identical components in each of the picture. What is same in all the three, and what is different between them? So we so this is this is how we can utilize, the data scientist can utilize this information of what is seen, what is not seen, and can create data models, various data models, to identify behaviors without you depending on certain specific characters. Not necessary that you need to look for the eyes, you need to look for the cheeks, you need to look for the chin, you need to look for teeth. It's not that. You have what is similar, what is not similar, that's visible. So we are identifying similar and non-similar, and then using a data science to identify, to create patterns in that. See, for example, in this particular picture, we have an insider, internal user looking somewhere. Is he looking at the malware, or what is he doing? He's just looking at somewhere. He might be looking somewhere at an a normal scenario, or is he looking for a specific malware or something? Can we guess it just by looking at this picture? I would say no. Why we cannot say whether is he really looking, is that a really a malicious look, or is that a normal look? Why? Because I don't know certain information. I see that that information is not complete enough for me to gauge whether that is a malicious or a non-malicious activity. Like context, what was the time that he was looking at? Like, for example, you see here, working at midnight, attaching 500 MB to an email. These are the different kind of behaviors. If we get to understand what is happening, what did he do earlier, what has he been doing from a series of couple of days or couple of weeks or a month, or what is he doing after looking at somewhere else? What is he doing? What is the behavior is he expediting? So after looking at the context, we'll be able to say whether that is benign or it is a malignant behavior. Now, without if I talk about the previous picture, I would consider that as a benign, like I would consider as that as a benign. Like I would not say it's a malicious, because I do not have enough information, and without having enough information, I cannot go and accuse someone saying this is a malicious look. I have to go with the positive note. Now, having identifying, the context is more important, and this is what Interset is bringing up. We have the normal day-to-day tools where our SIM solutions and other solutions are actually receiving them and doing their analytics. Interset can receive information from them, or Interset can directly receive information from the devices. And then Interset has a huge amount of patterns, machine learning algorithms defined, very specific, very accurate machine learning algorithms, unsupervised machine learning algorithms defined. So with which we can analyze the context, and we can give this information. If this information can be shared with orchestration tools like a SOAR technology, or can be used for automation and reporting. When we talk about the analytics, we have different machine learning algorithms. It can be for an identity requirement, it can be for an EDR requirement, it can be for it can be for an endpoint requirement, or it can be for a data repository. Can be anything. We have a huge amount of data models already classified. We have around 450 different data models. Unsupervised machine learning, we call it as unsupervised machine learning. The information that we get from the SIM solutions or from the devices directly, we understand the behavior, we try to match and see what is normal, what is abnormal, and then we utilize the UMLs to identify and come out with a meaningful information, and saying whether this is really a malicious activity or a non-malicious activity. I would explain to you the Interset UEBA with a couple of examples, around 5-6 examples that I have quoted. This will help us understand Interset in a better way. So let's talk about Interset. Before I do that, Interset is already having a very well alignment with CrowdStrike. I'm sure you guys might have heard of CrowdStrike, the EDR. Endpoint detection and response. So people who already have an EDR environment up and running with CrowdStrike, all they need to do is log into the CrowdStrike portal. They'll see Interset available. All they need to do is just click on the Interset, and Interset has a very beautiful integration with CrowdStrike. With your one click on the Interset, in your data from CrowdStrike will be shared with Interset, and Interset will do the analysis of your endpoints and will come up with reportings and dashboards. You will be yes, you'll be receiving an email from Interset the moment you work, the moment you register for it. The Interset team will get aligned with you and will demonstrate the results to you, like what benefit do you get from EDR and from Interset. You'll definitely see a difference between the two. Well, coming back to the slide, we are talking about Interset UEBA for EDR. Specifically, we are talking about a scenario where the Interset is receiving information from EDR only. So Interset now gets information on what the user's activity are, because we are getting it from the EDR. So what kind of use cases or how Interset can help here is Interset can identify login behavior patterns. Say, for example, if a user is logging at an unusual time, if he is logging at an unusual time and accessing applications at a time which he has never done earlier, this slightly looks like an abnormal activity. So Interset just tries to award some risk point to them, which is in our scenario here, he has awarded 12. Okay, this is a logical number that is being awarded. This can be customized as per the environment. Now, after an unusual login, Interset sees that the user has accessed an unusual file extension, which this file extension was never observed in the organization, or probably in his profile, Interset never observed that this person has accessed such a file extension. So his risk score has been considerably increased now from 12 to 43. Then there has been a data exfiltration activity seen where a huge amount of data has been exfiltered. So the risk score has been increasing. Similarly, another activity from him of exfiltration in nature, the risk score is reaching the critical layer. Each of the color that has been represented here represents the criticality. So Interset is going to identify the entire picture of what is he doing, what is his behavior, getting the contextual information. This is how Interset will add value just from the EDR data. So as I told, if any one of you have CrowdStrike environment at your side, you can just go click on the log into the portal and click on the Interset, and you'll be able to see your Interset will be able to digest the information, utilize the information from Interset from CrowdStrike, and provide you the reporting and dashboard and its findings as what exactly did Interset see. Let's talk about another example where we are not having just one data source, but different data sources. Like, say, I have data source from IAM. IAM can be your Active Directory, can be any other authentication mechanism which is doing the authentication LDAP. We have the data repository and we also have the endpoint data store. These three technologies so Interset is receiving information from these three technologies. Now, different analytics engines start working because we are receiving information from different technologies. Now, from the IAM, we get to see that the user has been, we get to monitor and see the user's behavior, the user's login behavior, his pattern. What time does he log in usually? What time he logs out? And if it sees something like it has never seen earlier, some unusual login, yes, some risk is awarded. Like, yeah, this is a risky behavior. You have never done this earlier, this kind of behavior. Now, from the data source repository, we get to see that the user has accessed different projects. He usually is allocated to project A in general. Okay, Interset is not aware that he is allocated to project A, but what Interset sees that in this particular user accesses only this specific folder. So Interset gets an idea that this user's normal behavior, day-to-day behavior, is to access folder A. And at one point of time, when he is logging on at an unusual time and accessing folder B for once and not repeating the action again after that point of time, Interset identifies, man, okay, this is a new activity that he has done. Let me add some more score to it. And similarly, if he's trying to gather to other machines, he's gathering the information or data from other machines, his risk score increases. And if we get to see some unusual processes running or unusual exfiltration activity seen, his risk score is identified to a bigger number. You see, in the earliest slide, we saw one data source sharing data. Now we see three different data sources sharing data with Interset. We do have, if we talk about the Interset deployment, we do have the cloud-based deployment, and we do have the on-premise deployment. We support multi-tenancy, so MSSP is an option available. So the customers all need, if the customer prefers to go with the cloud environment, all they need to do is buys the subscription units from Micro Focus for the Interset, and they'll be allotted a tenant from the cloud environment, a tenant from the cloud environment, where they can access the cloud environment, see what is happening, and but basically they do not need to give their infrastructure for installation. They can directly send their data to the cloud. In an on-premise environment, they'll provide the infrastructure. Infrastructure is built, and Interset is deployed on that. So we support AWS. When we talk about cloud, we support AWS, Azure, Google platform, um, have your private cloud. It depends. We support almost everything. And when it comes to on-premise, be it a physical server or a virtual server, Hadoop infrastructure, we support almost everything that runs in an organization on a day-to-day basis. So, what do we see with Interset happening? Is we are working more efficiently to identify more hunting algorithms. We have the cloud environment where we reduce the cost and complexity at the customer side in terms of deployments. We are adding up more number of use cases as and when we are growing, and we are extending our integrations to different devices, and we can fetch data from open sources as well. From your data lake, we can fetch the data directly. Let's talk about some of the examples, further case studies, that these were the real case studies that was seen in different organizations. So I have put those information here. So my main aim here is to explain to you Interset in the most better way, most as an analyst, the better way to understand this. I have not touched base on any algorithms or the machine learning, the unsupervised machine learning techniques that it is utilizing. I'm focusing more on the usability. So I have added a couple of use cases here for your better understanding. So Interset was already deployed in one of the finance organization in a government in the US, somewhere in the US, in a finance organization. And Interset at once identified that one employee, he logged in consecutively 2 days at midnight 3 a.m. and he had in these 2 days he had printed 350 documents. So now, how did we get to know that? We had integrations with DLP and the Active Directory. So DLP was giving us the information of what is happening, what is he printing, and everything. And Active Directory gave us the information of what did he log in, when did he log in. So we identified the algorithm that were kicked and utilized were unusual time that he logged in, unusual day or week that he is logging, and unusual volume of printing that he usually do. So with this information, there was an investigation established saying what happened, why did the user, he was not authorized to come for 3 a.m. At the midnight, and he logged in at, he printed 350 documents. So there was an investigation launched. In another scenario, where a recognition activity, where there was a different activity identified, uh, reconnaissance activity. So basically, what happened was a user was trying to use guest account and log into different R&D servers. So this information was tracked by Interset by using the Active Directory login. By the means of Active Directory integration, we identified the guest account that he was trying to log in, and we did this probably like within 24 hours of environment. Like within 24 hours, the Interset was deployed in their environment. We identified this behavior, and this behavior, once it was reviewed, the guest account was removed on the servers. None of the servers were using guest accounts then. In the third example that I would explain here is from one of the software organization, software giant, where there was an internal breach from the users trying to steal the source code. I wouldn't say to steal the source code. They were trying to log into the source code server, to the repositories where the source code were residing, and they were trying to fetch that source code to which they were not authorized. And once we identified that two engineers were trying to do the similar behavior was identified in different regions, not only in America but in different parts of the world for the same organization. Interset identified, yes, the similar kind of behavior is happening in some other countries as well. So it added up a very great value to this software giant organization. In another example, Interset monitors almost everything. We had integration with the email as well, Exchange as well. So Interset was getting a visibility of how many emails goes out from each of the user, what would be the size of that email. It's not only the Exchange, we had integrations with Exchange and network devices and multiple other stuff. So Interset was getting the visibility of how many emails a user sends or receives on an average per day. What would be the bandwidth that is utilized to all together? So, in an overall nutshell, the Interset identified that the highest amount of emails sent was 690 MB per day, and that was sent by the HR email address. And that is well understood. That's okay, because HR has to send emails to multiple number of people, each and every employee, indeed, on a daily basis. So having a highest number from the HR email makes sense. And on an average basis, every user was sending around less than an MB of emails per hour. But at one point of time, one of the user, there was 960. There was a huge amount of data, a huge amount of attachments were sent, which was accounting to 960 GB of data. Multiple attempts, a huge amount of emails were sent throughout the day. So this was identified and highlighted by the team, saying, yes, this is completely an abnormal behavior identified, and was reported to the management. So another example is the user machines, the user login. A user was logged into a specific machine, and a different port was observed from that machine. This specific port was never seen within the organization, and this was identified for the first time in the end user machine. So Interset identified this and highlighted that this was never observed. This is a new activity. This led for another investigation as why was there a new port number opened on this particular machine. If you talk about use cases, the way Interset can help, it will go on and on and on, because we have a huge amount of UMLs, unsupervised machine learning data models available, and their utilization can go endless. It depends on organization type. The SCADA kind of environment has different use cases. The normal finance organization has a different, banking sector has a different use cases. So there is huge that comes into picture. So I would summarize my discussion. I was saying that Interset purely runs 100% runs on unsupervised machine learning technology, where you don't need to bother about signatures, updates, or any other stuff. It is purely based on the algorithms that have been defined, and these algorithms are increasing. The integrations are increasing day by day. We have 450, more than 450, around 450 UMLs. We support 13 data types. Now, when you talk about data types, there is going to be a big change that's going to come once we have a direct integration with ArcSight. So anyone who is already having ArcSight or ArcSight connectors, we will be fetching data from the ArcSight connectors. But this is not officially released. A date has not been released yet, but very shortly we'll be hearing this. So meaning that this 13 data types will not be 13 data types. ArcSight has connectors for more than 450, more than 450 devices again, approximately. I think it is more than 500 if I talk about different the different associations, because many of the devices are now forwarding data directly in CIF format. So it is more than 500 devices that ArcSight can collect the data from. So this 13 number becomes more than 500 once this is released, and this is very shortly going to expected to be released. So it is UEBA is Interset was a part of IQtel, but now it's a part of Microfocus since February 2019. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop a question into the question and answer box, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions on this. Do not have any questions, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining this session. This session will be recorded and will be uploaded onto the Redington Value channel on the YouTube. There are multiple other channels. There are multiple other sessions already uploaded onto the YouTube channel. Please feel free to log in, subscribe, and then have a look on the previously delivered webinars on this. Thank you very much.